Dennis Miller Show. Tonight, Sean Young, Mort Sahl, Lawrence Kasdan, Andy Summers and the Soporifics. And now, it's him!
Summers in the band. Please give a warm welcome to the lovely lady with the lipstick on guitar, Mr. Nick Bacai.
Thank you, Dennis.
How are you tonight, my friend? What's happening in your life?
I'll tell you something. I was out having drinks with a very dear old friend, Mr. Kent McCord. And we were going over some of the things that we cherish in life. And we started to make a list. We didn't get very far, but I have 3, and I'd like to share them.
Lay them on me, Nicky.
The sunshine that streams through your window on a glorious morning, festooned with the warble of the birds.
Yeah.
A refreshing quaff of Pilsner.
Sure. I'm with you so far.
And the insolent sway of an old man's scrotum.
Who cannot go along with 3 solid choices like that, huh? I think we're all there. Nick, very loose tonight. It's a looser, funkier Shamu at SeaWorld this year. Okay. Enough aquatic antics. Let's get to the news. The Space Shuttle Discovery launched yesterday. The astronauts will spend their time giving each other electrical shocks on the leg and spinning while blindfolded in a specifically designed sled chair. Get the feeling NASA's just run out of things for these guys to do? The Hubble telescope has sent back information that indicates that the universe could go on expanding forever rather than collapse back in on itself, as scientists previously believed. To get some idea of the concept of something expanding forever, I think you have to picture a nude George Foreman lying on top of a large glass coffee table. Okay, I read about that in the Stephen Hawking book, if I'm not mistaken. There was an article in the New York Times today that said in the upcoming elections, sound bites will be shorter than ever. They say the average sound bite will be only 8 seconds. This is good news for David Duke. He can get all his ideas in and still have 4 or 5 seconds left to kick around. Hey, how long do you think Duke would last in that amateur hour slot on Showtime at the Apollo, huh? I think Sandman would be out there rather quickly. You know, of all the candidates, Pat Buchanan's the one that I can't figure out. I mean, he's married, he's against abortion, he's a devout Roman Catholic, and yet he has no children. Get the feeling Pat's an isolationist in the bedroom, too, huh? Through his press secretary, Mario Cuomo, today released the following statement. You know, maybe I should, never mind. And President Bush is proposing a $645 million aid package to the Soviet Union. Of course, some of that money will go to getting Yeltsin into a rehab program. And, you know, like we have $645 million to give away. We've been in debt so long, we're starting to tie yellow ribbons around bank machines. The Russian news service TASS is no longer, I read today. It's been replaced by the new Russian Information Telegraph Agency, to be known as RITA. Now, spokesman said that RITA will be a totally new entity, but you can still expect a little piece of TASS from RITA every now and then. Boom. Yeah. A little play on words joke. A little S.J. Perlman thing. Okay. Maybe not, Denny. Lee Iacocca makes $4 million a year. Can you believe that? His counterpart at Toyota makes $700,000 a year. Iacocca, $4 million. This from the man who bought us the K car. You know, trying to find one of these on the road now is like looking for a clock in a casino, okay? I can't believe General Motors laid off 74,000 people. I mean, who's going to work on all the recalls? What the hell are they thinking over there? American Airlines has canceled 9 flights recently because there was gasoline in the drinking water. You know, you hate to bother the flight attendants, but when your coffee bursts into flames, you got to hit that coffee, don't you? Huh? You just got it. You know, you can now call the Pope on a 900 number. For $1.95 a minute, you can listen to a tape recording of the Pontiff's daily message. You can get the Pope on a 900 number. You know, I don't feel so bad about those beer commercials anymore. The Australian basketball team says it'll boycott the Olympics now if Magic Johnson participates. Yeah, gee, bro. Boy, the Olympics just won't be the same without the Australians getting their ass kicked in the first round, huh? Yeah. This is like Jim Varney boycotting the Cannes Film Festival. The NAACP is investigating Denny's restaurants for making black customers pay for their meal before they're served. They say it was racially motivated, but personally, you know, if I'm dishing up the food at Denny's, I'm going to try to get my bread up front, too. Okay. Glad we saved that little nugget for the last one. I have that big rave-off ending here. We've got a great show for you tonight. We've got Sean Young, Mort Sahl, Lawrence Kasdan, oh, Andy.
This portion of the Dennis Miller Show is brought to you by new Ultra Dash. Cleans a mess for less.
Yeah, Andy Summer, the Soporifics. Welcome back. Welcome back to the show. It's a dynamo. It's rock and roll. Sorry, I went off into brain salad surgery land there. I got a call on the voicemail line from Tommy Krasnick of Racine, Wisconsin that I'd like to answer. Can we play the message first?
Hey, Dennis. Saw the show on Monday. Great show. What is it with you and Christian Slater? You guys touched your hair about 13 times.
Well, you know, Tom, I don't think that's right. David, can we see that segment, please? Yeah. Yeah. I'm thinking of checking into the Schick Get Your Hand Out of Your Hair center. Way off, Tommy, but thanks for the call. If anybody at home wants to call the voice line, that number is 213-871-8198. Please call. I love to meet the people up close, personal, get involved with their lives, plant crops in their backyard. Well, the Super Bowl is Sunday. Both teams... All right, yeah, Bruce Smith in the crowd. Both teams are in Minneapolis. Can't think of a more fun place to hang out at this time of the year. I guess Ice Station Zebra was booked. The Super Bowl Sunday, both teams are in Minneapolis participating in the pregame hype, and to add to that hype, we've made it the topic of tonight's For and Against feature. For and Against going to the Super Bowl. Thank you, the For and Against thing whipping across the country. You can feel the... You can feel the momentum building behind it. Case 4 going to the Super Bowl. It's a shining example of human competition and sportsmanship. The case against, the guy behind you won't stop yelling, "Eat me!" Case 4, you find John Madden's chalkboard extremely helpful. The case against, he drops his chalk and has to bend over to get it. Case 4, the always heart-rendering version of the Star-Spangled Banner. The case against, ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the rapping of our national anthem. Case for going to the Super Bowl. It can all come down to a field goal. The case against, the subliminal urge to read John 3:16. Case for, if you're on the winning team, you get a Super Bowl ring. The case against, you lost your ring finger in the third quarter. Case for, you get to see the Vince Lombardi trophy. Against, it's still in his icy grip. Don't kill the messenger. The case for, the halftime band forms an American buffalo. The case against, ooh, it's anatomically correct. Case for, the president phones the winner. Case against, he's breathing heavily. Case for, the blimp is spectacular. Against, he won't sit down and you miss the game-winning touchdown. Up next, we've got Sean Young, later Mort Sahl and Lawrence Kasdan. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You've seen my first guest tonight in the films Blade Runner, No Way Out, and her new film, Love Crimes. Please welcome Sean Young. You know what, Sean?
Nice deco outfit
Yeah.
in here. Yeah.
You dig this thing?
Yeah, I dig it. It looks good.
Yeah. You just got here right a few minutes ago, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
What a cool life.
420, I'm sorry.
What a cool life, blowing down La Brea in your limo late. Who cares? And now we're doing the show.
I was really nervous.
Wow.
It wasn't so cool.
Ladies, once a month, I want you to do that. Because only a trained expert knows where to look exactly. So, you know what I'm going to do tonight, because I'm sure you're really bored. We won't talk about Jimmy Woods at all.
Thank
Because it's such a
you.
drag.
Woo.
I mean, it's, people meet, people go bumping the night. It gets weird sometimes, you know. Everybody
or
moves
sometimes
off.
people don't go bump in the night and it gets even weirder.
Yeah? Well, I think you've just told us everything. But it is weird the way Führer seems to
Surround me.
follow. Well, you know, it's weird. And I often wonder, I look at you, and I've seen you on a lot of talk shows, and I think, does she hate it? Or is there a perverse party at the center that kind of, you know, somehow some people love living in the maelstrom sort of thing? Or do you just hate it?
No, golly. No, I guess I expect it now. I've kind of grown used to it. I compare it to like being a soldier. You sort of go into battle, and it's not the most comfortable thing for you, but you get wiser, stronger, and braver, and more courageous as you go along. And Hollywood is such an honest and, you know, beautiful place filled with such wonderful people that, you know, I guess I just stick out in some way.
Yeah, but you know, it's really no grimmer than any town. I mean, if you think about it, I always I always say that about Hollywood. And God, I've met some nice people here. It
I
can
have
turn
too.
ugly.
I've met a lot, mostly nice people,
Yeah.
but they're all in a crew. They're all like the working people. You know what I mean? Usually, people in positions of power, you know, they get like intimidated if you don't take any crap.
Well,
you
it
know?
can't. You know, yeah, the higher ups can get weird sometimes.
Yeah,
but you have to
that's-
remember that everybody here lives like day to day. I mean, it's so weird. They check those numbers in the morning. They check those
I
grosses.
never check numbers.
No?
I mean, I just can't even relate to numbers like
Yeah.
that. Although I'm really hoping y'all go see Love Crimes, because I'm gonna go. I'm gonna check
because
out the
we're
numbers
just
on
complete
this one,
hippies
you know?
over here. And we're in Marin
I never
County,
did
and-
check out numbers, but seeing how numbers seem to be so important to so many people here, you know, you kind of get overwhelmed with the responsibility of all that blockbuster mentality. You
Yeah, I
know?
think the best way to look at LA is just like a company town. You know, there's a product here. They like to put it out, and it gets, and all the press that's attendant to it, it can get weird when it turns on you. I think that's what's happened to you.
I
You know,
don't
you
think I tell you, I get a lot of fan mail, and I get a lot of people who give me support and encouragement, and I am surrounded by people who I work with who are also really supportive. There's a handful of little Hollywood phonies that maybe have a problem with me, but that's not the whole world.
Right.
You know, that's a few people.
Well,
So,
even the Catwoman thing got weird, right? I was just reading. Now, I always thought, I had heard this story. It kind of comes on the grapevine. She showed up in a Catwoman outfit. And that
What
didn't
did you
even
hear?
happen.
What did you hear?
I just, you wanted the part, and you showed up in a Catwoman outfit, and they wouldn't let you in or something.
Yeah,
But
is that so terrible?
no, but you didn't even dress like Catwoman, did you? Or you
Well,
just
I had a little
you dressed
cat-
kind of
I had
slinky?
like cat makeup on. The first interview was for Tim Burton. I wanted him to meet me, and he wouldn't. He like hid under the desk, you know. And so what I can't what I can't understand about that situation was like it was totally Catwoman of me. He just didn't get it, you know. And plus, I had been cast in the first Batman, and before, about a week before we did the production, I was asked to get on this horse, and I ended up falling off and hurting myself, breaking part of my arm.
And then Keaton got the thing.
No, he was already.
And then Kim Basinger
I
got
really
the part.
felt like 5 minutes of his time was not allowed to ask, seeing that
He really hid under his desk?
You know, well, that's what I was told, you know.
Jeez.
Or, I mean, that he hid. But, you know, I think that's kind of like part of that Hollywood mentality, which should change. People should be human beings regardless of the amount of success that, you know, drops on top of them.
Now, have you come to this insight from the School of Hard Knocks, or did you have this all the way along?
I think I've had a good time all along, and
Yeah?
I've treated people well all along. And if somebody that I've gotten angry with, it's because I've been incited to, you know.
Well, you know what? I will tell you this. When I read these stories about anybody, I often think, I'm like anybody. Human beings read stories. There's that perverse, I think it's called, the Germans call it Schadenfreude, that vague...
Huh? What?
There's a thing called Schadenfreude. It's like a vague pleasure you take in other people's misery, and I think human beings have that. But you know what? I don't really think I know anything about you. When I'm finished those articles, I go, oh, shit, it seems weird, and then you think, how do you know any of that exists? So I think most people think that. I don't think everybody's out there.
I have that feeling, too, that there's a lot of support out there for me.
You kind
know?
of read it, and it delights you, but you don't really know. Hey, we're going to take a commercial. We'll be right back after this.
This portion of the Dennis Miller Show is brought to you by Budweiser. Nothing beats a Bud.
With actress Sean Young. Now you have a new film, Love Crimes, and it's with that, I think that guy's good. He's spooky, isn't he? Bergen.
Yeah.
And I saw Patrick Bergen was the guy in the...
Sleeping with the Enemy.
Sleeping with the
Yeah,
Enemy.
with
And
Julia.
what's this one about? Tell him.
Well, I played Dana Greenway, and she's an assistant DA, and she sort of gets obsessed with this guy who has a pattern of these women who press charges against him and end up dropping the charges, and he impersonates a famous photographer sort of to manipulate them and becomes intimate with them, and the women are sort of caught in a very gray area, which is they do engage in sex with him a lot of times, but then they feel responsible for it later on, and so they drop the charges. And there's a lot of data.
And my favorite shade of gray, by the way.
It's a very European kind of film, actually. It's not real straightforward, because she has all these memories from her childhood that sort of become unleashed as she goes after this guy, which she does outside of the police, you know, force. She sort of pretends all of a sudden that she's a cop, and then gets caught by him and thrown in this closet, and all these things start to happen to her, become available to her memory when she was a little kid. And
big closet. Big closet.
Yeah. And it's kind of scary for her. So.
Well, can we take a peek at it here?
Yeah.
Can we? This is a clip from Love Crimes. Ooh. Okay, yeah. Well, now, Did we stay on the clip too long freezing, or did you actually break your neck there and we're kind of just stuck?
Yeah, I think they're really going for that commercial thing in this movie. They've cut it, very commercially. And at that particular time in the film, she breaks out of the closet by banging on it, and she waits for him and gets the old knife, and she wants to kill him. And there are things about her character that aren't totally together as well.
The knife thing,
yeah,
being
that
one
knife
of them.
thing. Well, she's protecting herself, or so she thinks, although she did follow him there in the first place, so...
Well, when you're on the first date and the Ginsu comes out, you're on a very funky roll at that moment. You're married now, right?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, I saw the ring there. What's your hubby about? He's an actor, too,
And
right?
a singer. A very
Oh,
good
yeah?
singer, yeah.
And you tap dance?
Yeah.
You guys ever put little shows down on the TV room?
I love tap dancing. Gregory Hines and I are on a board of the American Tap Dance Orchestra.
There's an American tap dance
Yeah.
orchestra, and you guys sit on the board?
Yeah, we sit there on this board.
That's
and,
a really specific honor.
Well, it really is.
I'm
Because I want to tell you, tap dancing is the only indigenous form in American dance. It's the only form that we have made ourselves. Everything else was imported besides
about the
American
limbo?
Indian dancing.
The limbo
Maybe the
is
limbo.
from...
No, I don't think
I got
so.
to
You
that.
might be right. I
Come
don't
on.
know, the limbo. That's like
You
a
all remember
Frankie
the limbo,
Avalon
now, yeah.
thing,
Guys would
right?
have those door hinges put in at their knee and you
like-
just go back and somebody light the bamboo pole and put it on the Coke bottles. I'm going under, damn it. Maybe it's just me. What the Thank you. It's my first week. You're so kind. Anything I say, yeah, Dennis, where he's hung out there. Let's clap. And you live in Sedonia?
Mm-hmm.
No,
Sedona.
Sedona.
Sedona. There you
I'm
go.
sorry. We had Diane Ladd on last night. She lives there, too.
Yeah.
Real peaceful, spiritual place?
Well, they say it's spiritual. It is a very beautiful place.
Mhm.
I mean, startlingly beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming on, Shang. It's nice, Shang. I called you Shang. I called you Shang. Reverend Sun Ming Moon, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back after this. Thank you, Shang.
I'm sorry.
If you're going to be in Los Angeles and would like to attend a taping of the Dennis Miller Show, please drop us a note. Care of the Dennis Miller Show, Post Office Box 8160, Universal City, California 91608, or call us at 818-506-0043.
Welcome back. Please join me tomorrow night when my guests will be Mercedes Ruehl, Jim Carrey, Ned Beatty. Wow. The guy he jilted in Deliverance. And James Cameron, who, of course, invented the Cameron. My next guest paved the way in stand-up comedy for a whole generation of comedians. The original iconoclast, a great political satirist, has his own show on the Monitor channel. Please welcome the wise one, Mort Sahl. Man, there's something comforting about that sweater, you know?
That's my uniform.
Yeah.
That's what. Well, this is interesting hearing you talk about Hollywood, Dennis.
Yeah.
It's my hometown, even though I feel like I got a green card. But when I started in the business, I thought meeting actresses was really like the bonus.
Yeah.
You know what? I used to say only date actresses and other female impersonators. But all the girls I'd meet out here, you go to dinner with them, and they'd say, an Italian restaurant in Beverly Hills, and I'd say, what's your life about? And they'd say, I want to be an actress. And I'd say, why? And they'd say, I have something to say. And then I'd say, what do you have to say? And they'd say, I want to be an actress. And then we wouldn't have time to go around again, so we'd leave, That's how I started, with women, that is.
Well, it sounds like a really healthy thing you have with gals there. I loved your autobiography, or Heartland. I don't know, what do you call Heartland? Your manifesto, or?
It was an autobiography written in the middle, before you knew how it would pan out.
Mm-hmm.
It was written in the middle of life. And the publisher said, I want to get a guy who's sure he's right, and then we'll see if he's right. So the book was, it was like a confessional.
Yeah, I love the old stories about when you were starting. You know, this man was on the cover of Time magazine. Now, for a comedian, which to some extent is like the bastard child of this industry, or we were in the past, to think about a comedian on the cover of Time, that blows my mind. You had the ears of kings, you know, you were ran with, well, I find it fascinating you were part of that Kennedy conclave.
The great thing is who you get to meet, I would say.
Yeah.
You know, when you were talking to Sean about Hollywood, reminded me, I was at the White House in the first Reagan term, to do a show. And for the Prime Minister of Israel at that time, who was fond of saying that the American Secretary of State, that was Begin then, Begin would say that, although they're much alike in their, Shamir and Begin, he's a protege of his, he said that Kissinger was fond of throwing him, if he was drowning 20 feet from the shore, he'd throw him a 15-foot rope and then say he had met him more than halfway. It was that kind of evening, you know. So
Begin
anyway,
is so Begin.
They were talking about Hollywood, and Bush was talking about Hollywood being wild, and President Reagan said, it's just an 8 o'clock go to bed with the chickens town, and George Bush said, quote, some chickens. So you see, that's what you get to hear.
What were you doing at a Reagan function, for God's sake?
Well, he invited me.
Yeah, but you're the last holdout there, man. You're the liberal pinup girl. You can't
Well,
go
it's
back
funny
there
about
with-
him, you know, you can get very tired holding the door open for the liberals. You know, I keep getting calls now about the virtue of Oliver Stone's movie.
Yeah.
You know, I'm glad everybody took an interest in President Kennedy 28 years later. They may have noticed he hasn't been around the office recently. Boy, I'm telling you, you know, but you know, going back, and this is something you can really identify with, Dennis, the time that I was reading the Warren Report on the stage, or holding up a picture of Ruby shooting Oswald and saying, this is a picture of Oswald being shot while he's being guarded by 123 members of the Dallas police force, or 124 if we count Ruby. So, there was nobody around then.
Well, you know, that stuff's volatile. You got to watch that stuff.
Yeah,
You pay your price when you make points like
By the
that.
time the crowd comes around to it, it's time to move on. Don't you find that?
Well, you feel it took 28 years, or do you just feel it was such a sad event in our lives that it took a half-life of that long before we could
Well, a lot
confront
of it came back to me. Last night I was looking at Ted Koppel. What were you doing that for? I have a satellite dish. I see you at 10:30 out of Denver.
Yeah.
So I went over to Koppel at 11:30, and the head, they were talking about the Warren Report, and they quoted Earl Warren, who once said, with a remark aimed at me at that time, he said, if they have any new evidence, let them come forward. And at that time, we felt that we were kind of fond of the old evidence because it had kept the virginal quality since they didn't look at it the first time. So, you know, it's like that.
Now, when you say he aimed that statement, are you sure it wasn't a second Supreme Court judgment behind it? Well, now, I like the movie. What's your take on JFK?
The movie?
Yeah. You weren't,
I thought,
take
well,
it
it's
you weren't
interesting.
fond of it.
You know, the press is after him because they don't object to what he has to say so much as his right to say it.
Right.
That's really what's in question. But, you know, you have to be objective. I kind of think of myself as an artist, you know, and if that doesn't sound too pretentious to y'all, I'm not really a political figure. I took politics into the theater. I wouldn't try to go the other way at all. I don't think Oliver Stone is overwhelmingly talented. I think that a lot of the picture is very corny, and just because it absolves me, I'm not going to be selfish and say, therefore, it's wonderful. Kevin Costner, you know, Garrison is like an intellectual. They've got Kevin Costner like he fell off a turnip truck. You know.
Boy, you know, I've read a little on this subject, and you know, I'm not a Kennedy-ophile or Kennedy assassination-ophile, but
no.
I think that Kevin Costner painted Jim Garrison in, you know, what some would say a good light. I mean, I didn't get a hayseed off him at all. I thought when he was waxing eloquent at the end, you know, remember your fallen king. I thought it was kind of touching.
The real speech, believe me. You know, I was there. I was on the staff of the DA for 5 years down there. I lived there. It's much richer. It's much richer than anything you could synthesize. It's sad to say the picture doesn't credit the three DAs who prosecuted the case, Shambra, Alcock, and Oser. Funny thing happened in the courtroom, you know. You always got to be ready for the jokes. The government doctor who did the autopsy on Kennedy, Dr. Fink, spelled all his words for the stenographer, you know. He'd spell a word, and he'd spell a word. About the 8th day, he said, the president was wounded in the occipital protuberance. The girl said, can you spell that for me, please? And he started to spell it, and he got hung up. He didn't know how many C's were in occipital. And everybody began to laugh in the courtroom, and Judge Haggerty brought his gavel down, and he said, I won't have you laughing at Dr. Fink. He's been spelling for 8 days. This is the first word he's missed.
I'm surprised they don't have a separate key for occipital.
So, that's their...
Just hit it and move on, What was it like working at the Hungry Eye back when, man? It must have been exciting. That was like the ephemeral days of stand-up in this
Well, we
country.
had a great boss, Enrico Banducci.
Yeah.
He was an artist himself. He played the violin and he sang opera. And San Francisco was a place you could do something different and people wouldn't condemn you for it.
Still can.
And it also
still a
became
pretty liberated
it
town,
became a political town after that. With Ramparts magazine and all. And then there was a pall over it because of the AIDS thing and all. Got to be, and all. The economy is in Southern California. I'm working all around the country now, with the news show.
Yeah, you're doing
a show for the Monitor
Channel, Mort Sahl.
And the Monitor Channel is a new news channel, full-service, 24-hour news channel. I'm doing a variety show for them, which is kind of an anomaly, but it's based on the news. And we're around the country, and there's a lot out there. There's a lot between, L.A. and New York.
What's the format, the Heartland? What's the format of the show, though? What's it about?
The monologue, then the news. We use news clips and freeze them. And then we ask questions, and then we deal with it on film and with guests, like what happened to romance in America, or what happened to the movies, or how did we go from John Wayne to Billy Crystal, or how did we go from Paul Robeson to Arsenio Hall, or we go like that. We ask questions, and then we.
How did George Bush go from being George Bush king to George Bush might not get elected again? What do you think? Is it possible? Can he really botch this?
Yeah,
this great goodwill he has?
Well, what we used to say about him, Dennis, was at the Republican convention, which I attended, by the way, at the convention, you remember when Charlton Heston gets up and shows the film about him being a war hero? And he says Bush was shot down over the Pacific, and he's in the Navy. And he said he was floating in the water, and at the time of Jeopardy, his entire life flashed before him, but he wasn't in it. That kind of sums up George Bush. I think it's the Democrats that could win it for him.
Who's gonna be the Democratic candidate?
I have no idea. Neither do they.
I hear Mondale. He's got a campaign slogan. I can't possibly get stomped any worse than last time. This has been Mort Sahl. His show is Mort Sahl Live on the Monitor Channel. We'll be right back after this commercial. Welcome back. We are grooving. After 67 script rejection notices, my next guest parlayed his success as the screenwriter of such films as Raiders of the Lost Ark and The Empire Strikes Back into a directing career, which includes Body Heat, The Big Chill, and most recently Grand Canyon. Please welcome Lawrence Kasdan, folks. Nice to have you here.
It's good to be here.
You comfy with interviews?
Well, I've done a few interviews, but never in front of an audience. This is terrifying.
Yeah?
Well, much better, I see that.
I saw Grand Canyon over the weekend. I was bowled over. I loved it, man. It had that, obviously some films have these huge high concept. This film had that low subtext of paranoia that just permeated.
Concept.
Well, it kind of all ties together a bit at the end, but I love the paranoid feel about it. Were you particularly trying for that? Every TV had a newscast of violence on it. It was really...
It's oppressive. If you find the world a little oppressive, then you find this movie a little oppressive, and it has aspects that are very hopeful and sort of upbeat in a way, but I think that, if you go through life in America today, any typical day, you might find a little paranoid.
Yes, indeed. If you go with walks with your wife, as I understand, you hatched this on one of your walks, or some of your walks through L.A.
That's right.
You just can't help but look and see, the random nature of the violence.
Yeah, I think there's a randomness to all of life that's maybe a little... Why do we meet someone who then enters our life? You marry him, and you spend the rest of your life. What if you hadn't met him? What if you spoke to someone who you don't speak to, you know. I mean, the movie's really about chance and destiny and the possibility of good things happening and the possibility of bad things happening.
That was the sweet thing about the Danny Glover, Alfred Woodard. Well, I mean, I don't want. Am I gonna blow the film there?
No,
but
no.
The hookup, you know, is that with all this randomness of Steve Martin getting, you know, all the problems, the fact that they met via some of these problems.
Actually, the whole movie spins out of one meeting between Kevin Kline and Danny Glover, and they just happened to meet.
Yeah.
But then their meeting affects the lives of everyone else in the movie.
It's that domino effect. We have a clip. Let's watch this.
Right.
Grand Canyon.
Look, Mac, I'm an artist. Now go ahead and laugh, because everybody does. Nobody in this town will admit that a producer is an artist. Hey, how you doing? But I know what I do. I know how many lame-o directors I've had to carry on my back every step of the way and then watch as they take all the glory and reviews and awards.
Which awards were those?
That's okay. I don't mind working in modest anonymity. That's the way Thalberg did it, too.
They're so lame-o, why do you hire them?
Because I haven't got time to do it myself. Hanging around the set all day, doing that boring lighting and shit. Let them do that. That's beside the point. Point is, turn around. Turn around and go back down there. Where was I?
The point is,
there's a gulf in this country, an ever-widening abyss between the people who have stuff and the people who don't have shit. It's like this big hole has opened up in the ground, as big as the Grand Canyon, and what's come pouring out. Hi. My name's Davis, Building 78. The whole building. You should stop by. I think I have something for you. This is the greatest town on earth. Go left here. Where was I? Grand Canyon?
Yeah. Great movie. Steve, yeah, great movie. And you know what? I think you got to give kudos to Steve Martin for him to go from one of our most like idiosyncratically mindless comedian to the, you know, he's quite the actor now, isn't he?
Steve is a terrific actor.
Yeah.
And this part, it's actually a new thing for him.
Yeah, Father of the Bride, Steve did. Why the Roberto Clemente thing? My favorite athlete of all time.
I grew up in West Virginia, and they're our closest.
Wow. Jilted by Ned Beatty in Deliverance. It's a theme show.
Pirates were our team.
Yeah.
The Pirates of the late 50s and 60s, Roberto and Dick Groat, Don Hoke, you know, people like that, Harvey Haddock.
Nothing more regal than Clemente cutting second on his way to third.
He was absolutely the most graceful, gifted, you know, right fielder maybe of all time. You'll get an argument with Mays fans, but he was, and a very brave guy, died, you know, taking supplies to earthquake victims in Nicaragua.
Right. And the karmic beauty of it is, in baseball at least, the 3,000 hit signifies entrance into immortality. And Roberto Clemente got his 3,000 hit, I believe, a ringing double, and then he never got another hit. He died taking those. If he wouldn't have got that, I would have given up. He had to get that 3,000.
No, there was kind of poetic justice to it, beauty.
I've sat on a plane with you and we've talked about movies once years ago. I remember thinking how fascinating you were on the subject, and you also seem to be rather tough. You know, I thought this guy's very discerning about who he likes and who he doesn't. What directors do you like now that you're a hoity-toity director yourself?
Well, the directors that I've liked and been influenced by are the same ones that we respect now years later. After, you know, Howard Hawks, John Ford. I think the greatest director that ever lived is Akira Kurosawa. Mm-hmm. John Sturges, who made the Magnificent Seven, The Great Escape, and gets very little credit, it seems to me, these days. Those were important movies to me when I was growing up in West Virginia. Steve McQueen, Charles Bronson, these were ways to be.
Yeah, I saw a list of your favorite films, and I see McQueen films on there, and
yeah,
I think...
I'm a big McQueen fan.
Yeah, that's so funny to me because he seemed to be on instruments acting-wise. When I watch McQueen's technique, I often think, well, I know he's not Olivier, but he exuded that thing,
some
didn't he?
kind of magic. In fact, Kevin Costner is a close friend and had the same sort of interest in McQueen that I did. And I wrote a script for McQueen 15 years ago, but he didn't know it. I was writing it out in Detroit. And that script's being made now with Kevin Costner playing this part that I wrote for Steve McQueen.
You think he's the closest thing we have to that vibe?
In this movie, you'll see it's pretty amazing. He looks a lot like him. He has that same sort of stylized moving.
One quick last question. I know Kevin was left on the cutting room floor of Big Chill.
Yeah.
And who's the next famous star we're going to see who was left on the Grand Canyon cutting room floor? Anybody? Anybody out there?
That's what I explain. Everyone I cut, I tell them that's what's in store for them.
That gets you up.
That's right.
All right. Well, thank you, Lawrence. I love the
Dennis.
film. Thanks for coming on. Lawrence Kasdan. We'll be right back, folks.
This portion of the Dennis Miller Show is brought to you by Afrin Nasal Spray. Afrin, because you shouldn't have to wait to breathe.
We're back with Lawrence Kasdan. Sorry, I freaked out a little earlier. We still have a few minutes left with Lawrence. I was actually out of my mind. And I'm back now. Now, I can't imagine you were an ad copywriter. I have friends in that business, and
It wasn't for me. I think it's a good job for some people, and some people like it, but for me it was pretty hellish. I did it for about 5 years. And,
wow.
That's
Jeez.
from the...
We gotta
Sorry, I didn't mean that
tell the
about it.
caterer, no more Mexican.
I love the advertising.
What was that? What happened over there, man? The Hendrix's spirit was in the studio. What, who of your contemporaries, what films have you seen lately that you like? Because like I said, I found you to have good
like
taste
a lot of
in
films, you know. I go in wanting to like them, you know. I think that's a good approach, you know. I wonder sometimes if people approach movies that way. It's really hard to get a movie made. It's hard to make a movie. It's hard to do it well, you know. So I tend to be pretty sympathetic to...
Yeah, especially when the project isn't in what one would call for mass consumption. You a fan of your contemporary John Sayles?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Terrific filmmaker, very independent.
Yeah, I love his stuff.
Yeah, City of Hope got very little attention this year. It's a great film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that I sensed some, obviously there was some connection between Secaucus 7 and Big Chill. It had that same
what's
sort of...
interesting is that City of Hope is also about a city, as Grand Canyon is. We've been working independently, but we're obviously concerned about the same things. You know, these movies are coming out almost identical times, same sort of subjects, different takes on them, I hope, you know.
Mhm.
But we're obviously interested in the same thing.
You guys are running in the same psychic circles.
That's good. I think it'd be nice if more American movies were sort of looking at the way we're living, you know, and sort of, instead of all trying to get away from reality and escape from it. You know?
Yeah, well. Well, thank you, Lawrence. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I'm going to say we're finished now, but we'll probably be back. We probably have still more time. And I'd like to thank my guests, Sean Young, Mort Sahl, Lawrence Kasdan. Good night, teenagers.
When in Los Angeles, guests of the Dennis Miller Show stay at the St. James Club and Hotel.